to the best of my knowledge, there's no expression in Pali or Sanskrit corresponding to group or collective karma, but nonetheless it does seem that the idea is there. The idea basically being that the karmas of beings to some extent coincide. Therefore that the worlds into which they are born to some extent coincide, or they are born, in the manner of speaking, into the same world. In some of the Mahayana sutras in particular, it says very clearly that worlds come into existence as a result of the karma of sentient beings. So that there isn't a collective karma, one might say, perhaps this is the real crux of the matter, not a collective karma apart from the sum total of all the individual karmas. I think that perhaps is the real point. There's not some sort of mystical entity, some occult entity which you could label collective karma existing apart from all the different individual karmas of the sentient beings concerned. But one must bear in mind the teaching of the five niyamas, and according to the Pali Abhidhamma at least, everything that happens to you is not the direct consequence of your personal past karmas. Well, if it isn't, due to that, well, clearly a lot of the things which happen to you aren't the result of karma, and many of them happen to you just because you are bound up with other people. So it's as though in order to experience the results of your own karma, you have to, as it were, be born into worlds in which, as a result of the total deal, as it were, you have to experience things which actually are not the result of your karma. That seems to be the situation, because the teaching of the five niyamas does make it clear that, well, not everything that you experience is the result of your karma. The fact that you have, looking at it from another point of view, the fact that you have a physical body, a human physical body, is the result of your own past karma. But inasmuch as you have that, human physical body as a result of your own past karma, means that you are vulnerable to, susceptible to experiences which are not the result of your own past karma. You can't escape from this sort of situation unless you exist in a purely solipsistic world, which is not the case. In order to experience nothing, but the results of your own karma, you would have to be shut up, as it were, in a world entirely of your own, in which you had no contact with other human beings or any other beings, as it were, in their own right, and in which everything that happened to you was a direct consequence of your own karma. You couldn't have any dealings with any other being. Because if their karmas, and therefore their karma vipakas, totally coincided with yours, well, they'd be you. There'd be no difference between you and them. But to the extent that you are different from another human being, in coming into contact with them, you necessarily have to experience things which are not the result of your own karma. As I said, it's part of the total deal, so to speak. To the best of my knowledge, the teaching of the five niyamas is not found in the Sarvastivadin tradition. To the best of my knowledge, it's a Theravadin tradition, but I won't be totally sure of this. You could find those five terms, say, tucked away somewhere in a Sarvastivadin text, but not made very much use of. That is possible, but I haven't ever come across them in connection with the Sarvastivada tradition. Even in the Abhidhamma teaching, to the best of my knowledge, that list of five niyamas as such is not found in the sutras. It's a very useful list, notwithstanding. But even in the sutras, of course, the Buddha does make it clear that not everything that happens to you is the result of your personal, individual karma. In some ways, it's the question which was raised in the book of Job. To make a great big jump. Why should the good man suffer? and you remember Job's friends, his comforters, come and say, you must have done something bad, otherwise why should God have punished you in this way? And he maintains his innocence, and I have not done anything bad. Of course he didn't live in previous existences. I have not, done anything wrong. I am innocent. But his friends say, well, it's not possible for an innocent man to suffer. God wouldn't allow it. He must have done wrong. But he maintains his innocence not only in front of his friends, but in front of God. So, it's in a way the same sort of ethical problem. So yes, the innocent person, that is to say, the person who is at present at least innocent, can suffer, not only as a result of his own past karmas, but as a result of being in the particular situation he is, and in contact with the particular people he is. Very often Hindus and Buddhists too on the popular level believe that everything that happens to you is the result of your karma directly, but this is not in fact the Buddha's teaching. Whatever you do, all your volitions have an effect, have a result which you must experience, but from that it does not logically follow that everything that you experience, whether pleasurable or painful, is the result of your own, previous action, your own karma, your own volition. All A is followed by B, but all B is not necessarily preceded by A, to put it in strict logical form.
Bhante, do you have any idea what percentage would be due to you?
Oh, I don't think probably the computer exists which would calculate that. Sometimes one may have a sort of hunch, from one's own experience, but I don't think it can amount to anything more than that. There are certain things happen to you, you can be pretty certain you haven't done anything in this life to deserve them, but you can't be sure about your previous lives. Or at least you can be sure there were some things that happened to you, but though you can't identify them, which are not the result of previous karmas. If it is a fine sunny day, is that the result of your previous good karma or not? You don't know. But as I've sometimes said, if something quite unlikely and extraordinary happens to you, in spite of all your precautions, and happens to you again and again, you're quite justified in concluding, that is probably due to your own past karma.